boast. I started a company in the late 1990s with my now ex-husband, and I was the CEO and he was the CTO. And I don't recommend starting a company necessarily with your husband, especially a startup. So we decided to get divorced, and Vantage Point Venture Partners was my investor. And Alan Salzman said, Melissa, what are you going to do next? Because I said I should leave. He's the brains, the technical brains. And he said, why don't you come to Vantage Point and become an investment partner? And that's how I made the transition from doing a startup into venture capital. In 2007, when I was with Vantage Point Venture Partners, so I started Asia Pacific for the firm. And the reason that occurred was I was the only partner who actually had Asian experience, and I volunteered to go because I thought it'd be like doing another startup, which it was. Packed my duffel bag and moved to Asia, moved to Hong Kong. And then when I decided to leave Vantage Point, it was really, I'm an entrepreneur, and I enjoy the startup phase quite a bit. And so I decided to leave in 2012, and I decided to start Arbor. So our mandate is the companies either have to be headquartered in Asia or potentially can have substantial operations there. And I divide our portfolio into two different types of companies. One, companies that are going to be local leaders, and so they're going to dominate their local market in a particular segment, or companies like the companies we invest in Israel that have operations now in Asia, but actually have world-class technology. But if you take the other dynamics, we're going to have 60% of the world's middle class is going to live in Asia by 2030. 67% of our population is underbanked. We have countries where the average age is between 27 and 29 years old. And how they do things in the future, they can absolutely leapfrog, even though I don't like the term, but if you take Alipay as a great example, look what they have accomplished in the world of payments. And so Asia is dynamic and changing, and we don't have the existing infrastructure that precludes startups from coming into the market. And so there's just an enormous opportunity in financial services. So what I would definitely do differently, and I didn't realize at the time, having been part of a big firm, is that brand matters. And perception of brand and your differentiation really matters. And that almost can matter as much as your returns and what you've generated in the past. And I got some pretty good advice when I started Arbor. We could talk about the markets, and we could talk about Asia, and we could talk about why financial services was going to change so much in Asia. But people would say, one particular LP said to me, and what do you want the brand to stand for? And I thought, that's a really good point. And so we took that advice, and ever since then, we really have focused on making sure that people understand what Arbor does stand for and what we actually do, and building a brand and building expertise around that brand. Last year at our LP meeting, our LPs are really smart, so we have to come up with something different every year. And last year we focused on, are the world's largest geographies actually defined by countries? And they're not. The largest population in the world is actually Facebook. And if you start to think about that, the world is no longer defined by a reported GDP number or a physical boundary or a government, and you start to think about the world as these platforms, it becomes, again, very, very interesting. That's what motivates me every single day. About building the brand, you have to build a brand in venture because entrepreneurs have so many choices, and they can choose a well-known firm like Sequoia, or they can firm KP or other firms, and you have to build a brand. And you build a brand by a fundamental foundation. And ours is, we built the largest strategic financial network in Asia. I can pick up the phone and call the CIO of 10 insurance companies or banks, and I can make those introductions for our entrepreneurs. And that's what our brand is about. We're there to help and support our entrepreneurs build great companies. And that's what we want to be. Of managing it. You start one at a time, right? You don't start day one and say, I've got the largest strategic network. We built it one at a time. But then you get up to a critical mass, and then you can say, we've got the largest strategic network. But I'll give you an example. We did not have an insurance company in our prior fund. We want to do insurtech in Asia. We think it's clearly an under-invested area. The US has been invested. Israel has some really nice technology. But we didn't have an insurance company. We went out and we got 2 insurance companies so far as LPs in the fund. So now, and then what I did was the last year, I've been flying around meeting with insurance companies. So we can start to build the brand now around insurtech. So it takes a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and precision. We're no different than a startup, of how startups get started, right? You've got to have the ability as a telescope to see out what you want to do and then zoom in and be, monocular and perseverance and say, I'm going to go get this one. And once you get one, you have that as a reference, you get another one, and then you get another one, and then you build that up. And that's how you do it. So I take the school of thought that a woman-led firm can have many advantages. And I think women are different than men, and we relate to our CEOs in a very different manner. And I think we can use that to our competitive advantage. And we once won a deal over Sequoia, and we won the deal because the CEO's wife was about to give birth to a baby, and I sent a baby gift. And I can assure you the partner on the other side at Sequoia had no idea that the wife was about to give birth to a baby. So I like to say that you can use it to your advantage or disadvantage, but the only time we had issues on the fundraising trail of being two women was when we were in the US, surprisingly. And I wrote a blog that says #enough is enough Silicon Valley. I think it's actually much better for a woman GP in Asia than it is in the US. And I think that, as I said in the blog, I thank our LPs for being gender-free and just investing in us because they know we know what we're talking about when it comes to fintech. If you take China south, these are countries where women have been in power. So and they're in roles, in very important roles in the government as well. I think when you take Japan and Korea, it's slightly different, although we do have an office in Japan, and I have to say I've never felt disadvantaged by being a woman in Japan, but that's also because I'm a foreigner, perhaps. I think in Asia, it's also you have more tech entrepreneurs that are women. I think Jack Ma has done an amazing job. 48% of their workforce is women. I don't think you see the same ratio at Google or perhaps even at Facebook. And so I think there's more openness for women entrepreneurs. There's more openness for women GPs. The big difference too in Asia is the family structure and the fact that childcare is not a problem, because additionally people have help at home. It's less expensive. And so therefore a woman may be able to balance out the fact that she's got 3 kids at home, a husband who's working, who still wants to work, and still make sure the kids are taken care of either by either family or by additional help. The blockchain's fascinating in Asia today because the Chinese government finally has come out and said no ICOs, and they're going to shut down the exchanges. Korea shortly followed. Japan, one of the most conservative nations on this planet, says, nope, we're going to legitimize it. We're going to make it an asset class, and oh, by the way, we're even going to have approve ICOs. And so watching the flood of money move from China to Japan and watching the price of Bitcoin go up pretty substantially. Then there's Hong Kong, who says, we're not going to comment. Indonesia followed China. Singapore has yet to come out with a ruling. It's absolutely fascinating to watch what's happened on the Bitcoin side in Asia, but additionally on ICOs, which I think eventually will be, they'll be regulated as a security. It's just a matter of time. But it's a lot of fun.